Is the resurrection a hoax?
That's a good question.
Let's talk about that.
You stole my line.
Aiden, what are you doing here?
Guys, I'm here for the new segment.
New segment?
New segment.
New segment?
New segment.
New segment.
New segment.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
So our question for today is the resurrection a hoax?
Wait a minute. Just wait. Something feels different.
It's because we're on a brand new set, guys.
Brand new set. So excited. We're actually going to do a little bonus episode where we're going to show you everything on the set. And also, most exciting part is that we've got extra seating available and also a big...
Wait. Hold up, guys. Hold up.
people.
What?
So Aiden is just like right behind them. We can't even see her. She's too short.
What?
Too short, yeah.
How dare you assume her length, man?
man.
She just has
Real
infant knees.
offensive, man.
She's just got
She
those
can't help
infant
it, yeah.
knees, man.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's really
It's
offensive.
just the chair.
Bring it up a little bit.
Yeah. You actually did it on purpose. So anyways, like I was saying, we've got extra seating available.
We do.
High seats also. But then also we've got seating in the front and some more people. Where's everyone?
No,
Guys,
we don't
don't be
have
shy. Come on, they're hiding
Come on.
behind the cameras. So like I was saying, we also have more people on the show. So you're going to meet everyone. We'll introduce everyone to you on one of our episodes. Yeah.
But only one.
Who's missing Franco? Where's Franco?
Franco.
Franco.
Hello.
Okay. He's a bit camera shy. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to have lots of fun.
Not only do we have a brand spanking new studio, but we also have a brand spanking new segment. Tell us more about that.
Yes, we do. So we'll continue with the good question that we always discuss on the Good Question Show. But we're adding a segment for those questions in life that have absolutely nothing to do with anything, but we still wonder about them. Like, what's up with all the silent letters in words? Why don't we just
Yeah.
leave them out?
Yeah. And why does the letter W start with D?
That makes sense, right? Or like, why do men have nipples? Like, have you ever wondered that? Like, really?
I have
That's
not,
actually a
but
very
they
good
have.
question,
So
yeah.
stay tuned for that.
So before we get into our question for the day, something that's also brand new on this show is our red post box.
In case you didn't miss it,
I love this.
it's massive.
I love this red post box. And so what this is all about is that you can send in your good questions that we'll answer.
Yeah.
So
You go to the description below, or like
Yes.
you just send us, you post it, and it goes from the post into the post box.
yeah.
Technology.
Technology is fascinating.
Flippin' smart.
That you can go on the YouTube
On the
and write
YouTubes.
on the YouTube in the description
On the
a
gram.
question, and then the YouTube or the internet, it sends it from on top of the internet
Under the ground.
into our red post box, and we
Comes out
get
there.
the question right here.
Then
So
we
please
read
send
it.
your questions, whether it's relevant questions or irrelevant questions.
Yeah.
We'll
Really
answer
works.
it.
So today's
question
question.
for today.
Question for today. Yeah, it's not like we already said it 5 times. I guess what it's going to be. The question for today is the resurrection a hoax? Is it a hoax?
Thank you for that
Is
question.
the resurrection a hoax?
Yeah.
I mean,
So is it like a fairy tale?
Yeah.
Is it like the Easter Bunny, or is it something that
Santa.
actually happened historically?
yeah, something like the Springboks being number 1 in South Africa or in the world.
That is
Not in South
fact.
Africa.
And
But
the
the
Easter Bunny
is not
fiction.
fact.
Yeah.
And Santa.
Yeah.
Santa. If
So
I
is the
ruined that for you,
resurrection
I'm really sorry.
real? Okay.
So we're going to figure
So
out.
today we're actually going to be speaking about, can you as a logical person
Hmm.
believe in the historical resurrection of Jesus? Is it something that happened historically? And we're
makes
going to
sense.
be speaking about 4 main proofs for the resurrection. Let's go. So the first proof for the resurrection of Jesus is the fact that the tomb was empty. The tomb of Jesus was in fact empty. And even today, you cannot go and visit the tomb of Jesus. He's the only religious figure that you cannot go to his tomb because there is no tomb. He walked out of his grave. That is one of the proofs that he's in fact risen, because the tomb is empty even today.
But the problem with that is there's actually a counter theory that's going around that says that the disciples actually went and stole Jesus from out of the
Yeah.
grave, right? To kind of fake the resurrection. What do you think about that?
That's like the original Ocean's 11.
yeah, this is
Because
literally
Judas wasn't there, only 11 disciples.
11
so
disciples.
Ocean's 11, stealing
Ocean's
the body
11.
of Jesus. Yeah.
Stole that
so,
movie.
So here's the problem with that theory of stealing the body of Jesus. It would not have been as simple to steal the body of Jesus, because the Bible actually tells us that the Jewish leaders at the time, they were afraid of this very thing. So they went to the Roman government and said, listen, these disciples are going to steal the body because this guy claimed that he's going to rise from the dead. And so they asked the Roman government to protect the tomb so that no one would come and steal it.
Sure.
So they asked for the leader to put a Roman guard in front of the tomb.
That's cool.
So that can't happen.
And speaking about the Roman guard, we're not talking about just one guy, that could fall asleep or on his own.
Yes.
A Roman guard was made up about 10 to 30 guys, like trained soldiers, a group of soldiers.
Professional soldiers.
They're like the special ops of that time.
Yeah.
Black Force One.
Rackies of that time. Yeah.
The Rackies.
Yeah.
Like they were the legit ones.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were trained to look after that place. So, I mean, we're talking about great soldiers here. Not
Yes,
just
yeah.
one
So
of
it's
these
not
guys sleeping.
simple just to walk past them and then steal the body
impossible.
of Jesus. Apart from that, in front of this tomb, which is sort of cave-like, there was a stone that they rolled in front of it. Now, this stone weighed about 2 tons.
Sure.
It's just not as simple just sneaking past 30 Roman soldiers and rolling away a 2-ton stone by yourself to seal the body of Jesus.
You got to be jacked to do that.
Yeah,
Like, you got to
yeah.
be quite strong. But the other thing as well is like there was the seal of Caesar. Now the seal of Caesar was a
Like
seal
on where they closed with the stone.
with a stone.
They
Yeah.
put the
They
seal
put
of
a
Caesar,
seal
yeah.
of Caesar there. It's like with wax, and then if you were to roll the stone, you would break the seal. And if you were to break the seal, it's like you were signing a death warrant.
Yeah.
They would get to. But it's also
So
not.
it's like his authority that this
thing
tomb
is-
must not be opened
At all.
It's sealed by Caesar. It's a seal of Caesar. Yeah.
But not like the seal of Caesar. That's what I thought the first
You
time.
mean like Caesar's seal?
Yeah,
You know,
or the
like a
guy that
pet-
sings with a scar, seal of Caesar. He didn't have like his own entertainment. But there was the
Anyways.
seal of Caesar. Yeah.
Yeah, the seal of Caesar. That makes sense.
And not the seal, like the soul
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Afrikaans. But anyway. That's
But the point is also in that time, if the body of Jesus were stolen, remember the enemy or the religious leaders of that time, or the Jewish leaders, they would have been looking for this body, as well as the Roman government. They would have been looking for this body. And if they found this body that was stolen, I mean, surely the rumor would have spread, or someone would have been caught out amongst the Jewish leaders looking for you, as well as the Roman soldiers. And if they found the body of Jesus, surely they would have presented, the enemies of Jesus would have presented the body of Jesus to show, listen, this guy's not dead. Here he is. He's dead.
Yeah.
You guys are claiming, Peter, you're saying he rose from the dead. Here he is.
Yeah, there he is.
They would have presented the body. And so these are actually one of the
things.
arguments that it makes sense.
But
that
just
this was
a crazy thing, just quickly think about it logically. If you had to go steal Jesus in that moment, you had to firstly sneak past 30 guards that were trained soldiers. Like, that's pretty impossible.
Yeah.
All right. And then you had to get to a stone and move the stone without making a noise, because the people would see you. And then the seal would break. And then you had to move a 2-ton stone. Like, if you're just like 1 or 2 people, that's quite tough. You know? So it's a difficult thing to do, if you think about it logically.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to believe. Yeah, that's the point I'm making. Anyways, let's go on to the second point.
So if the resurrection was just a made-up story, they wouldn't die for it.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, all 12 the apostles.
So if the resurrection was just a made-up story, they wouldn't die for it.
Yeah. Because we know that the disciples, basically all of them, church history tells us, actually died for their faith. And if you read the Bible, if you read the New Testament, all of the disciples believe that Jesus actually rose from the dead, and so much so that they were willing to die for that truth.
I mean, they were literally willing to die for it. They were willing to give their lives. I mean, people that were like Peter, that was like, a coward, now is like living a life dying for Jesus.
Yes,
Why would he do that? I mean, they're being
Denied
tortured.
Jesus 3 times, and then after seeing the resurrected Jesus,
He's like-
then he was willing to be crucified upside down.
Like crazy. But and the crazy thing about that is, like, in these moments of torture, in these moments that they're being tortured, none of them cave.
Yeah.
None of them say, guys, hold on, it was just a story.
Yeah,
Like, we
yeah.
made this up. Please don't boil me alive, or, crucify
yeah.
me upside down.
Yeah, you don't get tortured just to save face. It's like, no, we made up the story, but no, I'm just gonna protect the secret.
The secret, true.
I mean, you cough up the secrets pretty quickly when you get tortured.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, if you
So-
twist my pinky really hard, I'll tell you anything.
But the point is, they were just saying, guys, I know you want to kill me. I'm sorry. This is what I saw. This is the truth.
This is all.
Yeah. And also no deathbed confessions, right? So there's nothing recorded by any of the apostles that, on their deathbed they confess something different. And here's the other thing, is to actually confess the resurrection of Jesus for these disciples. Not only did it mean their death, but also it had no social advantage for them. It wasn't like, your social standing wasn't increased when you believe this. In fact, it was the opposite. So there was no advantage for you in this time to claim to be a Christian or to claim that the resurrection is real. There was no advantage for you. So the only reason why someone would actually claim this is if it really happened. Yeah. That's the point. There was no other advantage for a person to believe, I believe in that, because then you get oscillated in society, etc. So the third proof is actually the woman's testimony. Okay, so in this time, if you were to make up a story, you would not actually make up a story where women are your primary witnesses or the first ones to witness something like this, because in this time, a woman's testimony didn't even count in the court of law.
Only in that time.
Yes, yeah, not today
Oh,
anymore.
yeah. Makes sense, yes.
It's not the same anymore today.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same.
Anyways, yeah. Okay, anyways, but in this time, so a woman's testimony didn't actually count in the court of law. So if you were going to make up a story, you would rather make up a better story saying that other people saw it. But probably in this time, they were sort of not ashamed, but maybe just ashamed about the fact that, okay, well, this is really what happened, is that the first people to see Jesus and amongst those that were witnessing for the resurrection were actually, in fact, women. And the reason why that is written is that's just the truth. That's what happened.
And if you wanted a more solid story, you would have just made up a better story.
Yes, exactly.
But now this is what happened. This is the truth.
So the woman's testimony is another proof of the resurrection that is probably just what happened.
So the fourth thing is this: if it was a made-up story, they wouldn't have so many eyewitnesses. I mean, there were a bunch of eyewitnesses. I mean, it's easy for me and you and Aiden, to kind of make up a story together.
Yes.
It's easy to control it because that's the thing about a lie, right?
Yeah,
it needs to be in a controlled space.
Yes,
it's easy to control it. But
so to sort of say, okay, look, we make a pact and we back ourselves that we're not going to cave under torture,
But I mean, it speaks about plus 500 plus, people that witnessed Jesus. I mean, even in 1 Corinthians 15, Paul is busy writing and he says, people ask him, what are the proofs, that Jesus is there? And then he says, actually, there were more than 500 people that saw Jesus and some of them are still alive today. Yeah. You can actually go to them and ask them because they saw the resurrected Jesus.
That's pretty cool. That letter was actually written so not too long after the resurrection of Jesus. And so to be able to write and say, listen, if you don't believe me, just go ask some of these people yourself. They saw the resurrected Jesus themselves. And so the many eyewitnesses, the fact that it doesn't seem like it's a controlled thing.
Makes it difficult to be a lie.
But makes it difficult to be a lie. And the other point is that not only did we not see any deathbed confessions from one of the apostles, there's also no recorded deathbed confessions from any of the other people that claimed the resurrection of Jesus, because many of them were also, rejected by society and also tortured for their faith, yet they didn't cave. So many different people. And so, which, makes one think, well, probably they were speaking the truth.
Definitely.
Yeah. Before we wrap up this episode, just two more other counter theories. So one of the counter theories against the resurrection of Jesus is that the body of Jesus was stolen, which we've spoken about is very unlikely. And then the second counter theory is that Jesus wasn't really dead. He was sort of just asleep. So it's called the swoon theory. So some people are saying, the stuff that they gave Jesus while he was hanging on the cross, it was sort of, it put him under and then he was sleeping. And then, after a few days in the tomb, he just woke up because he wasn't really dead. And then he, walked out of there.
The problem with that is, Obel, is like, if you think about Roman soldiers now, the Romans knew how to kill people. That was like their speciality. Like, that's what they did.
That's the point of a crucifixion.
That's the point of the crucifixion, is to die. I mean, Jesus was stabbed in his side. Imagine how quickly, just logically running through your head, you get stabbed in your lung, all right? And now you're like wrapped like a mummy in a cloth that you can't even breathe through. Like, it's solidly wrapped. Yeah. It's a few kgs of wrapping. And now you just go like, hey guys, I was just joking. Let me just take this off real quick. I can't breathe for the past 3 days, but let me just quickly take this off. I'm not dead. It's just the side, and then the sneaking part of like, let me go to the stone, let me roll it away with
from the inside.
From the inside, and just guys, hey, I was just joking.
Sneak past the Romans.
Yeah, no, the Roman soldiers are there, and you're like, hey guys, look over there, and then they all look away, and then you run. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah. So the point is, that's highly unlikely. That's really, you'll need to have a lot of faith to actually believe in that theory. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. And then the third counter argument is, so the first one is that the body of Jesus might have been stolen. The second one is maybe he wasn't really dead. Yeah. And another counter argument that's also popular is that the resurrection is only something that happened in the minds of the apostles. So sort of something that they all
illusion.
So they believed it so much so that they actually really believed it. You know, they actually believed it, and that's why they went on and preached about it. The problem, however, with that theory is that sort of that Jesus is only figuratively risen, or they just believe it or hallucinating together. The problem, however, is that all of their stories lined up. There's too much detail between the different apostles and the different people where the stories actually do line up, and also the 500 witnesses, other witnesses that saw the same thing. So it's one thing that you and I don't know, maybe ate the wrong mushroom and we saw something, but if so many people see the same thing, then probably they weren't high. It's just the truth. That's what happened.
Or maybe they like vision boarded it. Remember vision? Yeah, they're like, we're gonna.
But I mean, and also that many people and willing to die for this message. They were willing to die for it. They believed in it so much, and that's why the most logical conclusion is that it probably is the truth.
Yeah, I mean, you'll only die for something that you have proof for.
Yes.
Like, let's be honest. You want to make sure that you die for something.
So many people saying the same thing, having the same belief, seeing the resurrection of Jesus.
So I really hope this helps you, and it's good to understand, that the resurrection is not like some fable fantasy, but it is actually a logical, historical proof. And I mean, all these proofs are actually going to help you understand it more. Yeah. And if we were to use these proofs today in a court of law, it would stand.
Yes, I think it's so important. I always feel that Christians should understand that our faith is not, just because it's faith, it doesn't mean that it's illogical.
Yeah.
It's still a logical faith. And so if people do ask you now, how can you believe in the resurrection? Or do you really believe this? It is something that, yes, there is that part. Well, I do believe it, and there is a part of faith. Yes. But also, it's not something that is illogical. It's something that we can reason. It's faith seeking understanding. So we hope that helps you. In our next episode, we're going to speak about the theological significance of the resurrection. So why is the resurrection so important theologically? And basically, if you are a Christian, is it optional for you to believe in the resurrection or not?
But remember to stick around for our new segment.
Yes, new segment.
New segment.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Well, welcome to our new segment where we talk about stuff that's not about the good question. It's about other stuff. Yeah.
So like another question that we ask, earlier Brent asked an amazing question. Why do men have nipples?
Yeah,
that's
why do
brilliant.
men have
So
nipples?
we'll
That's a
discuss
good
stuff like
question.
that. Or like just, when you go to the toilet and you put your toilet roll in,
That's
do
a
you
big
put it
one.
That it goes out?
That it faces up or
next to
faces
the
down.
wall, yeah.
Another question, I've been thinking about this last while. If fish poo in the ocean, aren't we all just swimming in their toilet?
Is that really the kind of stuff you think about?
That is honestly the kind of stuff I think about.
But the point is, I know that you also have some questions that you ask that is not relevant, so you might not think it's going to be discussed in this show. But yes, we do want to discuss. That's why we
We
created
do.
this new segment.
Brand new.
And these questions you can also put in the comment section.
Yes.
It's going to come to our red post box, and we're going to discuss those questions
it.
also.
Wherever the comments
So, Aiden, for our very first new segment of this episode, what are we discussing?
Today's question, super basic, but what is the name of this new segment? We
that's
kind
a
of need a
brilliant
name for this new
question.
segment,
New segment?
on the Good Question Show.
We just call it the new segment.
The new segment. No, but
What about the good question show? Because these are like really, really good
the
questions.
Good Question Show, dude.
You mean just because these questions are good, then let's call it the good question show.
Where have you
That's
been?
what
Where have you
it says.
been?
Where have you been?
What do you mean?
Okay, well, it is not a good
The show is called the good question show.
What do you think the
G?
GQ, bro?
You see the G
I thought it
and
was
the Q.
I thought it was Gucci.
Franco has a suggestion.
What if it's okay? If it's not good questions, what about the not so good questions, but yet still important to answer?
So you're saying what is he saying?
not so
So
good
the
question.
not so good question show. What about the not so good question
But
show?
they still need to be answered.
But they're still good questions.
So you're saying the
kind
not
of
so
like
good
that.
questions, but they still have to be answered. Show.
I
We
think
can
we're
say
overshooting it.
no.
What if
The
we just go
questions,
simple?
the questions are irrelevant. So why don't we just say the not so relevant question show?
The not
The
so
not so relevant
relevant
question
question
show.
show.
Or just for short,
But it does have a nice ring to it, though.
I don't like the word irrelevant.
the irrelevant
Simple.
show.
The other question show. I mean,
The other question?
The other-
The
'Cause
other,
there's
but
two
what do you mean
questions.
by the other?
not
Sure.
like that.
Two
What do you mean the other?
Yeah, the,
My bad, my bad.
that the
Don't
other
be
people
Don't be
do.
racist to
Are we
me.
the other people that do the other segment
other thing.
of the other show?
I have an idea.
but
Listen to
that's
me.
good.
Hear me out now. Like, it's not the real one. It's like illegitimate. Like, like an illegitimate child, like my brother.
Sure.
Yeah.
What?
If you the illegitimate show, the illegitimate question show.
Does Charles watch this?
I
though?
love
He does.
that.
Yeah.
The illegitimate show.
I
like
love
that show.
that.
Yo, no, they don't know what
Yeah.
the legitimate.
Illegitimate show.
The average question show.
Average
Have we
question.
not-
Average.
Have we
Average.
not been doing that this whole time?
She's saying, have we not been doing that the whole time?
Sheesh, tomorrow.
He's saying the
Tomorrow.
questions that we've been discussing.
Hey, popcorn
like
lady.
for instance, is the resurrection a hoax? Are you saying that's an average question?
Sure. No,
If it wasn't for the popcorn.
Sure.
Why are you here?
But listen, no.
No,
It's
please
a-
never
it's a
leave.
machine.
Please never leave us.
No,
a
it's
machine.
her
No, we're only
machine.
kidding.
We have to-
We're only kidding.
we have to
We
keep
love
her
you
happy.
too.
We love you.
We love
For your
you.
popcorn.
But
We
seriously,
really love you.
seriously though,
Yeah.
all kidding aside, I have been thinking about this for a while now, and I might have like a full-on legitimate, not illegitimate,
Yeah.
suggestion for the name
Like
of
my-
this segment.
The unicorn trap.
No, well, that could be Plan B. But my suggestion for this show would be good questions that have nothing to do with the actual good question that we are discussing on the Good Question Show today segment.
I like it.
Okay, so
It's specific, very specific.
It
I
sums
like
everything
it.
up.
And it's
so
easy.
because
It lets you
and
know what it's about.
There's no hidden agenda.
so because it's
The
not
people will know.
because people are going to be confused because we have the good question show where we speak about the main question
Exactly.
and then but basically what you're saying just
But-
say it again.
Say it
How
again.
does it go?
Good questions that have nothing to do with the actual good question that we are discussing today on the Good Question Show segment.
Very specific.
Also, it's good for marketing because people will remember that.
Good for marketing. People will like remember
But
that
just think
so easy.
for a moment, if that's on a poster,
but it
there's
makes
no place
sense.
for an image. It'll just
It'll
be
be
words.
the longest poster in the history.
We could make a new poster.
Imagine you start a political party and your party's
And you
very
drive past and that's what
descriptive
you
like
see.
that. We are the
I
party
would vote for that
the
party.
people that care about your basic needs, including, and then it lists like everything that people care about: the dogs, the
The dog.
children,
The
the
plants.
parks, recycling,
Dentists.
No, my
dentists,
God.
economy.
Economy.
Yeah, and you put that on a political party.
Good potting soil.
poster. Yeah.
Like literally all the
All
important.
important things.
ANC, DA. So how's
Ah,
Oh, that's
it's
the
like
thing.
yeah. So
like
what do you
an
call it?
abbreviation.
Abbreviation.
Yeah.
What if we do an abbreviation? Because that is long.
Yo, that is pretty long.
Just say the name again.
Good questions that have nothing to do with the actual Good Question Show that we are discussing on the Good Question Show today segment.
I still think it's specific.
I like it. Okay, everyone happy? We stick with that, but
That's
we abbreviate
the
it.
name. We're
So
just
we
going to
abbreviate.
abbreviate it.
How does it sound?
Okay,
abbreviated?
so let's just quickly. This is probably going to take 5 minutes, but let's quickly try and figure out
Good
the
questions
abbreviation.
that have nothing to do with anything that we are on the Good
T,
Question
G,
Show
L,
today
G, T, no?
segment.
LG,
A, B,
no,
C?
that's
No.
another thing.
Good questions that have nothing
The
to do.
ANC,
actual
B,
Good
PF
Question
plus.
Show.
no, that's
The
5 hours later.
is the Z
T?
or how does it?
It's South Africa. It is like
Yeah. Okay. The X. Okay.
Not the
X.
Z, man.
the Z is
Is there a Z though? Like, why are we saying
I think
Z?
we probably have to write it down.
We're gonna have to write
okay, we'll
this
just
down.
write it on your
Okay.
phone. Okay, so
Okay,
it's
cool.
the
I'm only good with numbers.
Yo, I'm not good with.
One hour later.
Okay, guys, I've got it. I've written it down, the abbreviation for the new segment on the Good Question Show. So here we go. This will now be known as GQTHNTDWTAGQTWADOTGQST segment.
how many letters are there?
How easy is that?
Yeah, how many letters are there?
Imagine the posters.
Sounded like some weird disease.
So then that's a lot shorter. I mean, that is a lot shorter, but I
That
do
is
think
much
all of us
shorter.
need to memorize it.
Yes.
That's important.
'Cause
So,
people
let's
are
quickly
gonna
do
ask
that.
us.
We're going to take turns. That's going to be fun. So this is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
game. We're all going to take turns and see if we can,
We can
say
actually
the abbreviation.
say this out loud in front of the camera.
Okay.
Okay, let's
do
do
this.
that. Yeah.
GQTH segments out.
GQTHN is
GTQHN
GTQANC LMNOP.
okay.
Got it right. I got it right.
GTQTTYL. It's a no from me.
GTQLO.
So what are we doing here?
We have to say the abbreviation for the new segment of the show.
What segment?
Can I get a definition, please?
GQTHNTD WTAGQTWADOTGQST segment.
Tomorrow, drop your chair, man. All right, let's go.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Hope to see you next week.
Remember, like and subscribe.
And ring that bell. Bye.
I'm good. You see, editing gaan 'n nightmare wees.
Ja.